part that I'm most proud of to share about myself is that I'm a member of the Penobscot Nation, and at my core I like to say that's who I am and what drives me to do whatever I may be doing the most. Outside of that, I'm a student, I'm a mentor. I like to say I'm a leader in whatever capacity I can be around campus. In my time here at UConn, I've really developed my indigeneity and worked to reclaim it, and it's really paid off just being comfortable in my own skin and being able to embrace who I am to the fullest.
Hi, Sage. Thank you for being with us, and thank you for being part of the UConn community and bringing awareness, education, inclusion, and diversity as a top priority of us and everything that we do at UConn. So I would like to know how do you feel about your community, and I know that your culture is incredibly important to you, how it looked, growing up in Maine and as a member of Penobscot Nations.
Yeah, I think I was very fortunate and blessed to grow up so close to my community and my tribe's reservation. I did not grow up on the reservation, so I was thankful to have the opportunity to be brought over there as much as I could, and that really kept me grounded in my culture. And also being close to my grandfather, who I will say is the most traditional Penobscot man you'll probably ever know if you got the chance to meet him. But being able to just talk to him and see him whenever I wanted and learn as much as I could about the culture as possible. Attending school is a little different. I didn't attend school on our reservation, so I grew up in my town school system, and I enjoyed it for the most part, but my school system was formerly known as the Indians. That was our mascot, and that was well before I entered the schools, but I still lived the negative repercussions that has on our people and our youth. So some days it was just easiest not to show that I was Penobscot and just conceal it. And that was really hard. So I was thankful when I got to UConn that through my advocacy and my work, I didn't have an option. I had to be proudly Penobscot and proudly Indigenous if I wanted to make some things happen. So I'm very thankful for where I came from, but I never forget that it's what my culture and where I come from is what got me.
So let me tell you that I would love to meet your grandfather. And if you can share, you didn't consider UConn first or coming to UConn. And I know why, and I would like to know what did change your mind? Why did you decide to come to UConn?
How much time do you have?
Look, let's take as much as you want. It is really, for us to share, the thought process, when people think choosing the school, what they think of, what matters to them. So,
I guess I would say my whole life I thought I was going to the University of Maine on free tuition, being a member of the tribe. And I was okay with that until later on in high school I decided, okay, it might be time to go elsewhere. I was an only child, so it was all about me all the time, which some days was good, some days was not good. So I wanted to find ways in which I could kind of kick myself out of the nest, I guess, and I started looking around. And I think as prospective students, everybody has their list of conditions for the institution they wish to attend. I only had one, and it was a strong Native and Indigenous community that would welcome me with open arms. So whether it was in the form of an academic department or a lot of Indigenous faculty that would welcome me, or just students, I wanted something there because, as I said before, I didn't have that in high school, not in the classroom anyways. So my mom suggested UConn, and I kind of laughed at her. Oh, that's funny. No. And I couldn't find anything of a Native community here. I remember finding a logo for the Native American cultural programs and pretty much an outdated website, and that didn't satisfy me or my conditions that I mentioned. So I got away from that, and I toured some other schools that had robust Native communities, and they really caught my eye. And my parents kept coming back to UConn, and my dad said, why don't you take this as the opportunity to go create a community elsewhere, that you know what you want of it, you know what's been missing in your life, you could help create that somewhere. And I I took that to heart and I kept coming back to that. I was like, okay, UConn, and UConn kept popping up in my head, not because of what wasn't here, but what my dad said could be here. So I didn't visit, I didn't tour, I committed to the university, and I ended up coming in the spring before I would arrive to attend in the fall, and I couldn't find a Native community, and so I knew I had to get to work. So it's a very long story, but it brought me here.
I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you trusted your parents. And I'm glad you made a difference, because I think many times we are all comfortable to go where the seeds are planted, but your parents send you to plant the seeds, and that's very important. So if you can share with us, why did you choose political science and human rights as a major?
I think I applied to UConn in the business school, which is not me at all. At the time, I was very plan-oriented. I needed a plan set in stone for me to follow, and that would be the plan I stuck to for the next 4 years. I didn't get into the business school. I got in sociology, and that seemed okay. So I remember my first sociology class, I realized that this is not where I'm supposed to be. So I took it upon myself to go to events around campus, put on by different academic departments, and I found poli-sci through there. At the same time, I was applying to undertake the Native American and Indigenous Studies minor, and that just made sense for who I am. And then in my poli-sci classes, I realized I wanted a little more of a human rights perspective, especially because it would greatly align with my work, and I wanted my work with NACP and my academic work to align. So that's sort of how I ended up where I am.
So after you arrived and you figure out what you want to study, you then started, to come to UConn was to fund the Native American and Indigenous Students Association. So can you take us through the process and how that looked, and from there, where did you start, and what are the challenges that you faced? Like, what went well and what was wrong, and what did you learn from the process, and what we can learn from your experience?
I will start by saying I've probably heard the word no more times than I could have ever kept track of, and it stands true to this day. The biggest struggles I found for NACP was, for one, we didn't have a student organization. So our cultural programs, I would say, though we weren't recognized as a cultural center, we operated and functioned more like a cultural center than a student organization. Or at least that's what we were trying to do. So in my time trying to get my feet on the ground with NACP, I kind of hit the ground running and said, let's get this to be a cultural center, let's get the resources and the funding, and with that, students will arrive. They will be drawn to UConn. That will get them here. And we want them here, and we want the university to want them here and show that. So in the last almost 4 years now, I have been very happy to have colleagues join me who are very concerned and driven by the same lack of institutional support that we've experienced as Indigenous students over the years. And it's been really great to go from essentially 2 people in a storage closet for an office upstairs to go to the space that we're in here today with all of these amazing students that we didn't know were here. So that's sort of how NASA came about as well. One thing I noticed with Native American cultural programs is it was lacking the term Indigenous. So students who identified as Indigenous, but not necessarily Native American, they were like, do we belong there? Is this really a space for us? Because we're Indigenous, we're not Native American. It's like, oh my gosh, of course you belong here, but we need to do something about that, because that's where our Indigenous students are. They're at the university, but they don't see NACP as a space for them. So that is how the Native American and Indigenous Students Association was born. And we had students coming from all different pockets of campus saying, I'm Indigenous, I'm Taino, or I'm Indigenous to Guam, and here I am, I now have a place where I can call home. And in doing that, we really saw the potential for not only our student organization, but our programs as a cultural center. And we thought, okay, we're getting somewhere now. Students who haven't yet arrived can see that, this can be something for them.
Amazing, and with your work, you help so many people to identify and feel they belong and feel they're at home. And I'm aware that you've done a lot of research and looking, the land that university was built, that it was built on indigenous people land. So tell me about your research process and everything that you studied and how that revolution, in your mind and learning and collecting the data helped you to have the full understanding of the land that we called our university.
Yeah, as an Indigenous person, whenever I'm traveling or anything, I always look up, okay, whose lands am I on right now? And that's something that's really been integral to my culture and who I am, and just something that, it's just what I do without even thinking. I couldn't say the same about UConn and doing that. I mean, when I arrived here, there was a brand new land acknowledgement, and I just didn't feel that it was, I don't want to say it wasn't right, but it could have been doing better, and there could have been, I just felt there was a lack of awareness for the land UConn stands upon currently. So in the fall of 2019, myself and our former graduate assistant, along with Dr. Glenn Matoma, kind of sat down and said, how do we bring this awareness to the lands through research on behalf of the university? So we formed a team with Greenhouse Studios at UConn and our various connections around campus, and we got a group together and we launched a research effort. And it took a year. It was done entirely on Zoom due to COVID. And we really looked at not only the lands that UConn physically occupies and who are those peoples, who are those tribes and nations, but we also looked at the Moral Act, which essentially permitted the theft and expropriation of indigenous lands out west and in the south in order to establish the Storrs Agricultural School. And that was, that was something that I knew, but a finding like that, I guess you could say, is something that I don't think the average student at UConn is aware of. So we really dug into that history of how the Moral Act really got UConn to be where it is today, and how we still receive money from being Connecticut's land-grant institution. So I don't think we're quite done yet, but the majority of our findings are out there for UConn and everyone to see, and it's been really a process that I'm fortunate and grateful to have had the opportunity to do here at UConn, but I really hope it sticks and it stretches across our community.
So I'm aware of your strong advocacy for banning the racist sports mascots. And I would like to learn from you more about that and, what are your family and personal connections to this issue?
Yeah, I mean, Maine was the first state in the nation to ban the use of Native mascots, and my family was right in on that and a huge part in advocacy for that. My cousin Mullian Dana is the ambassador of our tribe, and she really carried that fight for all of us for a number of years. So I guess I wasn't super involved in Maine. Advocating on an issue like that has proven to be, it can be come with some harmful, issues, so to speak, without speaking any further. Especially as a minor at the time, it was like, okay, my parents were like, you need to protect yourself. So then when I got to UConn, I was aware of the mascots here, and I reached out to Dr. Glenn Matoma and I said, I'm aware that you have a group going here that is looking to work to ban Native mascots in Connecticut. How can I help? And he got me in on that within a week. So it was my first time to Hartford, actually. He took me to a meeting that they were hosting for this group, and we had superintendents coming, we had teachers and educators coming, we had Native and Indigenous youth and students coming, and it had a big impact on me, like, okay, there is a community here. It might not physically be at UConn, but these people care about something that I care deeply about. So it's always hard advocating for, or against this issue. But I mean, we've seen the change happen in Maine, so I'm hoping that we can see it happen here as well.
Thank you. So if you can share with us what it means for you to be the effective advocate? And how did you learn the skills? Like, what is the learning process? Because it's not only what you are doing, it's also the message that we are passing to our students and your colleagues and the next generation of the students.
It's definitely been a lot of trial and error. Sometimes it's, oh, I really should have found a way to sit in on this meeting, or I should go and join this student organization. And all of those errors that trial and error has really brought me here. One thing I'm really grateful to UConn for is the opportunities for mentorship. And I always say I would not be where I am today without the mentors I have connected with at the university. So one of my mentors actually got me the job at NACP. So if it weren't for him, I don't know if we'd be sitting here having this conversation. But yeah, I would say that I've also had to, ever since I was a little girl, my dad, whether he dropped me off at school or now he calls me on the phone from home, the last thing he says to me is, be a leader. Mm-hmm. And growing up, I'm like, okay, Dad, thanks. Like, what? And now I understand it. And it's just something that's engraved in me. But really, when I got to UConn, I recognized that I had to unlearn poor leadership, especially when I started at NACP. I wanted to do everything. I thought that, I myself had to do it if I wanted to make change happen. And I've unlearned that, okay, if I can take a step back, somebody else can take a step forward and have this opportunity. So my mentors have helped me realize that. My colleagues have helped me, my friends, my family, you name it. But it's been really great to be able to kind of spread awareness amongst other people that I'm working with. And
it's amazing what I'm hearing from you, because I rarely meet such a young person who talks about learning and unlearning and this is what I had to do. And your passion is contagious, So, and saying, look for the mentor. I think that's such important message. Either you want to achieve something or you're struggling with something, the mentors are one that can help. So what do you hope is going to be your legacy from your time here at UConn?
I guess I hope that, I always say, I don't need my name tied to anything, it's not why I'm here, but I guess my legacy would be just a better life here on campus for Native and Indigenous students, and that comes with a lot of things. It comes with a cultural center. It comes with more resources and support, especially, non-student staff in our space, because as of right now, in my whole time here, it's just been the students. If any of those things can happen after I leave here, and some of them are already in the works, I would feel good and I would feel like I've done something, at least something right.
That's beautiful. So tell me, what do you think you are going to carry on with you in your life from your experience at UConn, and what do you feel you are going to treasure and bring to your career and future?
I would say mentorship has a big thing to do with that. I've had such great mentorship, and how can I now go into and kind of be with Indigenous youth and be a mentor to them. We all really share and align with the same difficulties and struggles, and now I've been through some of them at this university. So how can I now go either back to my home tribal community or into others and say, okay, I'm here to help and not only mentor them, but help them become successful leaders. It's good to be able to say that I've seen glimpses of success for myself, but I really did that so that these prospective youth, and I like to use the term future ancestors, how can I create success for them to come? Because they're the next generation, they're the next ones to follow in the path behind, and we can only hope that they do that at UConn.
So you are such a brave woman, and it's really my honor to have this opportunity to get to know you and sit with you. So what is your message for us as a UConn community?
I would say I would hope that the UConn community can appreciate the land and the peoples that this institution has historically affected and still today affects. And I would say, correct your education if you can, and our office can certainly help with that. But think it all starts with an appreciation of the land, and then following with helping us advocate to help our prospective and current Indigenous students here and help us, just bring more visibility and awareness to our peoples here broadly and within our community.
Thank you, Sage. You are wonderful. Thank you.